What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Custom Journeys. I'm Andrew Baines. My co-host Eli won't be able to join us today, but we still got another great episode planned for you. Today, we're going to be talking with Jayton Harps. He's a software integration engineer at Northrop Grumman, and also the founder and CEO of Zero to Necessary. So really excited about the opportunity to talk to Jay today. And if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Be sure to subscribe and follow so you can keep up with all the great things that's going on. So let's go ahead and welcome our guest today. Jay, what's up, man? Thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
What's up, Drew? Man, it's going well, man. It's another day to be alive.
Yeah. I hear that, man. I appreciate you taking time out your day, man. I know you a working man, busy man. You got a 9 to 5 and a job on the side, right? Zero to Necessary. So I appreciate you making time to come chop it up with me. I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. I can't wait, man. Can't wait to
Yep.
to get it rolling.
Yep. So I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. We try to look at everybody's LinkedIn profile before we bring them on. I saw that, hey, you graduated with a bachelor's degree in computer science from San Diego State University. You also have 2 master's degrees. Is that right?
Yeah, I know I love education, man. I got two master's degrees, all within a 2-year time span, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, one from a national university, and that was in management information systems. I did that one online, and then the other one was University of Southern California, and I was in entrepreneurship and innovation. So,
okay,
yeah,
gotcha, cool, yeah. Okay, I guess you love education. That's cool, man. Let's get into it. Hey, so we're gonna talk about your journey to becoming like a software integration engineer. I want to really know like what that is. I'm more familiar with like software engineers, but before we do that, I want to kick it off with like Zero to Necessary. So if you can, tell me like what is Zero to Necessary and like what's your whole mission and goal behind it?
Yeah, so Zero to Necessary is a business that I started with my mom back in 2018. And I remember at the time, my mom, she was really about wanting to start her own business and stuff, right? I was like, okay, Mom, just let me know what business you want to start. And so one day she was with my aunt, which is her sister, and she told her, she's like, you know what? Sometimes you got to go from zero to necessary, right? And then my aunt was like, Zero to Necessary? Like, Donna, I've never heard of that before. That's my mom's name, Donna. And she's like, really? She's like, yeah. She's like, you should do something about that. And she was like, oh, okay. So then she told me about it, right? She's like, Jay, what do you think about Zero to Necessary? I was like, Mom, let's go ahead and trademark this right now. Like, let's go ahead and do something with this concept because that can apply to anybody into anything. So the mission of Zero to Necessary is to encourage, inspire, and empower children and adults to fulfill their goals and to reach their dreams. So one of the ways that we're doing that is by exposing the youth to science, technology, engineering, mathematics, particularly in robotics. So we're teaching kids from like 5 to 17 how to build their first robot. And I think that is very key because of the people in our community. Sometimes I feel like we think things are too hard for us or, we can't really do it all. But all we just need is somebody there to teach us the way or show us the way. And so I'm one of the main instructors to help them like build their first robot. I mean, it's not as bad as you think. It's not like, we're about to build a rocket or anything. I mean, these robots are manageable to program and to build. And so yeah, we've been doing that. I want to say back in 2020, actually, yeah, last year. Yeah, during the pandemic, we were sending out robotic kits to kids throughout Southern California. And we were teaching them through Zoom, kind of like this, right? And I was one of the instructors to kind of help guide them build this robot and program it. So that is a little bit about Zero to Necessary, and that's what we've been doing.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I think that exposure, that hands-on experience that you guys are giving the kids is really valuable. And I think that'll go a long way in helping them like pursue like STEM career paths. So how does this work? Like, do you kind of send kits to the kids directly, or do you like just partner with the schools and like different schools get a chance to build the robots with their kids that are enrolled at that current school? How does that kind of work?
Yeah, so in the beginning, we were able to partner with a program that had the kids, right? They had about,
Gotcha.
10, 15 kids out in LA, actually. And so we was able to talk to the parents that way. But then we're also very open to just anybody, to come check us out and want to receive a robotics kit, and we send it over to you. Then we set up some time and day to be able to program the robot with the kid. And then right now, what we're doing, we are teaching these robotics at schools. So one of them in particular is a charter school in downtown San Diego called E3 Civic High. And shout out to Melissa Woods, because prior to that, that's where it goes back to. You just never know what may come about it. I used to just volunteer my time and just talk about, my career for the years. Like, I think they started like back in 2013. And then during the pandemic, or actually, no, earlier this year, 2021, she approached me. She's like, hey, do you know anybody that's teaching robotics? I said, me, you know what I mean? And we was able to get a contract with the school. So now I'm teaching robotics and engineering every other Saturday. So, just the power of networking, and you just never know who may be looking out for you. So, but yeah, we definitely partner with schools. I know one of the things we really want to do is to do like after school programs, because we definitely want to keep these kids busy, but we got to have more hands on deck. Right now it's just my mom and myself, and we both work full time. I mean, my mom, she works at DMV, so bless her soul, y'all. Like,
oh my goodness,
seeing with all kind of people. So, but yeah, so that's where we're at right now with that.
Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, but I'm praying for your mom, bro. She dealing with people with attitudes all day, every day. That's tough. Day. Yeah. Hey, so that's dope. I like the plan and the processes you guys got. And I'm glad you even mentioned like the opportunities that networking has provided you. Real quick. So like, if I wanted to, could I got 2 kids. My oldest is 3. Could I buy like a kit for myself and my kid? Or is that, and if so, like, where do I go to get the kit?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I would say, go to our website, zerotonecessary.com. And, but to be honest, I would say even just email me, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I want to sign up myself and my kids, like I want to learn about these robots and stuff. And then we'll just go from there. So, my email is CEO. So the letter C, the letter E, the letter O, at zerotonecessary.com. But if not, you can go ahead and check out our website, zerotonecessary.com. So, and then, just let me know, like, hey, I want to do these things for my kid or for myself, and then we'll make it happen.
All right. Awesome. All right, cool. Hey, so in addition to running Zero to Necessary and teaching robotics every other Saturday, you're also a software integration engineer. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what is a software integration engineer, and how does it differ from like maybe a software engineer?
Yeah, it was funny when I first started off in the position. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what is an integration engineer? You know what I mean? And, with Northrop, what I learned is that, okay, so what happens is you got to have somebody to program not robots. Look, I'm still in the Zero Necessary. You got to have somebody to program the code. Then you got to have somebody to test the code. But then you also have to have somebody that's right in the middle, right? Who can program and who can test it at the same time. But at the end of the day, they have to put all the software together and test it out, right? So in my position, I literally take all the softwares that you can think of from all these different teams. And then, I can get super techie with it, but pretty much you just take all the software and test it out, right? And then with testing it out, you have a chance to speak with all kind of people, test leads, managers, architectures, all that kind of stuff, just to make sure that the flow and whatever is happening with the technology works. And one of the things that I do at Northrop is we do, it's called an agile environment. And agile is just a process, y'all. It's just a process that is actually pretty popular right now in software development. And pretty much what you do is every day you have these things called Scrum meetings. So you meet up. I was like, Scrum? Like, what are you, like, about the fighters? Like, no, that's just the name of the thing. It's called Scrum. And you meet every day and you give a status report of what you're doing, what you need help with, and so on and so forth. And then from those meetings, you continue on throughout your day. And at the end of each month, which is like a sprint is like a month worth of whatever task that you're handled with, you have a demo. So you demo exactly what you've been doing to the customer, to your team. And then you start the process over. You plan, you design, and then you just start working. So that's a high level overview of what the agile environment or method is. And so
Yeah.
with the integration, that's what I do. I'm tasked with all these different software things, from leads or from management and stuff. And then I presented what the work that I found, to my team or my customers. So that's what it is, though. Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks for giving that explanation because I had no idea. But I mean, you started saying a lot of terms that I'm familiar with and that I'm starting to see pop up more often, like Agile, Scrum. So, like, I know Scrum Masters is like that certification, or like becoming a Scrum Master is starting to become like a big thing, or already is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, like, for your job, how much of it is like hands-on coding versus like it seems like there's like a project management component to it. Like, how much of it is one versus the other?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I remember one time I was on a project, and I mean, the coding was easily like 6 months. You know what I mean? Just
Mm,
to code and to dissect, a lot of the things that whatever that I'm trying to build. A lot of it is it just depends on the task. So sometimes, even like right now, my task is very hands off the code. I'm not really coding anything. I'm just like testing, running scripts. You know what I mean? The
gotcha.
scripts are just instructions to perform an application, right? To perform a software. So I'm running all these different scripts, just to see if it works. If it doesn't work, I go into the code and to see where the errors are. And then, that's where I talk to a lot of the engineers like, hey, this isn't working. What's going on? How does it work? Because it's a big system with the coding and hands on and hands off. It just depends on the task. But right now, for me, it's really hands off for the coding, but before it used to be super, super hands-on.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So I'm curious, let's back up. I'm curious like how you got so involved in STEM. So like where was kind of like that beginning point? Was it in high school or middle school? Was it something that your mom did where you started to like naturally gravitate towards STEM and then eventually major in computer science in college?
Yeah, and STEM what got me going, man, was video games. Oh man,
Okay,
like
dope.
avid video gamer, man. I'm talking like I had all of the consoles, man, from Nintendo to PlayStation 2 and all that good stuff. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
I was just super adamant about like being involved in video games. So throughout my life, all the way until I was in high school, I was like, man, I want to be a video game designer. That was my dream. My dream was to be like the CEO of Sony. Like I was super like, I'm gonna get there. And then if not, I was like maybe a basketball player or something like that, right? But
Gotcha.
but yeah, so that's what got me curious about that field. And then I was like, okay, how do I even get into it? So one of the things I would do, I would read, like Game Informer, anything that deals with like the latest news and video games and stuff. And I
Yeah.
saw on there the journalists and authors, they were all computer science majors. So I was like, okay,
Mm,
if I want to pursue that degree, then I would get into that field, right? It made sense to me. And then the other factor was right before I graduated from high school, they always put out the top 10 degrees that will be in demand for the next decade, right? So we're talking like this is back in 2007 when I graduated high
okay.
school. So I was like, man, for the next 10 years, what's the major? And the major top 5 was computer science. So I was like, no matter what happens to me, I'm always going to be in demand. And so I just really just pursued that. And then the last part was, okay, what school, even kind of teaches or even has that major. So
Hmm.
a lot of them I was choosing. I really wanted to be I really wanted to do the whole the stomp the yard, you know what I mean? Like get in a
Yeah, yeah.
fraternity, do all that stuff, that hoorah, that brotherhood. I'm all about that. And so I wanted to go out of state. I actually got accepted at Howard, but they wanted me to redo my SATs. And I was like, oh man, like I only got one shot, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
SDSU, San Diego State, they had already accepted me. So I was like, well, can't beat the beach and the tacos. So I'm going to go down to San Diego, right? So if
Yeah.
anybody doesn't know, I'm from, the IE, the Inland Empire, so Riverside area. But I've been raised out here in Southern California. So I knew I was pretty close to my family too. So I went down to San Diego. And yeah, and then the other thing that people should realize is a lot of these majors are impacted, which means you got to have a high GPA to stay in that major or what you're trying to pursue. And before you even get into it, you got to have a high GPA, right? So I was computer science wasn't even about that. It was like, hey, as long as you have a 2.0, you can get into this major. And I was like, oh, bet. You know what I mean? Like, I had a 3.5 at the time for coming out of high school. So, but yeah, that's what kind of started my STEM journey was video games. That was it. That was really attracting me. And I was like, man, how do you create stuff like this? And so that was it.
Yeah, man, that's dope, bro. You bringing back feelings of nostalgia, blowing in like Super Nintendo cartridges and like trying to clean off PS2 CDs that you scratched up, trying to pray and get them to work. That's dope, man. Nah, that's cool. That's seeing like how much like gaming had an impact on you, and I think gaming and esports is really starting to take off. We've had some guests, and we have more guests planned to talk about like esports and gaming and like the intersection between that and STEM. Cool. So you decided to go to San Diego State. Like, were you like signing up to get student loans, or how were you going to pay for college? Did you get scholarships, or what was it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, going to San Diego State, I was definitely concerned about money because, you know, coming into San Diego State, I mean, even just being with my mom, because my parents, you know, they got a divorce when I was about like 8 years old, right? Okay. So, you know, I moved with my mom. And a lot of the things that she did on her own, you know, like, yeah, dad was there to pay child support and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it was my mom, you know, holding it down. So so before I graduated from high school, I actually got a job at Stater Brothers, you know, like really grocery store, pushing carts and stuff. And then before I started San Diego State, I applied for a job, you know, working at one of the markets, you know, like little convenience stores on campus at college. It's called Aztec Market. So I got a job through them, you know, literally a week before I started school. And so that helped pay my way. And then I definitely applied to FAFSA. I encourage everybody to apply to FAFSA. I mean, you know, as far as getting some type of, you know, grants and stuff through there. But I definitely came into a point where I didn't receive those anymore because I think it's like after 4 years, you got to apply for loans. So, yeah, I definitely had to apply to loans. And the rest of it was out of pocket through working, you know, through the Aztec Market. And then I got a second job at a place called CC's Pizza. And CC's Pizza, yeah, all you can eat buffet for $4.99. And I know they have some out there in Texas and stuff, but you know,
that was my go-to in college, boy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that helped me. That was my grind money right there, man. I was working on weekends, cutting up all these pizzas, you know, serving hundreds of people, you know, and it's a grind, man. So I was, you know, I didn't get any scholarships, you know, during my undergrad. I didn't. I think the only ones that I did get scholarships from was like from my church, you know, like in LA. Gotcha. Like they would definitely help me out, you know, maybe 1,000 here or there. But for the most part, man, it was definitely FAFSA and going through loans and just paying my way through school.
Gotcha. Man, so yeah, it sounds like you got a lot on your plate then, you know, trying to work as much as you can to help like support your living expenses and your education. What was your like college experience like at San Diego State, like majoring in computer science? Was it a challenging experience? Like what overall, how would you kind of say it went?
Man, it was definitely challenging. I mean, first off, it took me 6 years to graduate. All right. 6 years. Part of it was, a lot of things was a part of it. One, even when I came into San Diego State, I was really, I was really determined to finish in 4 years, right? And I was like, man, I want to get in and get out. And then think about it, like this is 2007, 2008, the financial crisis happens, right? Yep. And all of a sudden, jobs aren't like lucrative anymore. So I was like, maybe I should stick around if I want to get out of 2011. Who knows what might have happened? And but then I also came into a point I didn't know if I wanted to continue pursuing that because I had just broken up with my girlfriend at the time. I was working 2 jobs. I didn't have a car, so I was commuting, a good hour and a half each way, just to get to school. I started flunking my classes. I got all letters, from A to F to incompletes. It was a terrible time for me, and but I just stuck with it. I had counselors there. I had mentors, who kind of helped me along the way. It even introduced me to engineering. I didn't know what an engineer was until I found an organization called National Society of Black Engineers. And shout out to the first person I met. His name's Brian Ware. He introduced me to the club. And he's like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be an engineer. And, you can be any kind of STEM major. I was like, okay, cool, because I'm computer science or whatever. And he was like, you know,
Yeah.
we're gonna have free food. I was like, hey, I'm there. You know what I mean? Like, I love to eat. So whatever food you got, it can help me out, right? So
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of going back and forth on the timeline, but
No, it's cool. It's cool.
but yeah, man. So that was like back in 2008, at the end of 2008, early 2009, and you know, I just stuck with being around people that was a part of what I was trying to pursue, you know.
Yeah.
And then I went to a national convention that year, which was in Las Vegas, of all places. My first national convention with Black engineers. Oh man, it was dope, man. I was like, wow, you can be smart and have fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was, to me, that was like, wow, I'm gonna stick with this until I die. You know what I mean? Like I can do this. So my experience, you know, during college got a little bit easier once I found my tribe, right? Once I was able to lean on people that was just as gifted and talented and smart like me. And then who also was in the struggle. You know what I mean? Like just trying to get by through school and working and all that good stuff. And then, you know, pursuing computer science, it was definitely hard. You know, I was taking some, you know, Calc 2, Calc 3, you know, combinatorics. I mean, these are like high level, you know, math classes. And then the computer science, oh man, data structures, algorithms. You know, I would be introduced to a lot of those things, and which I didn't really have much of a concept about it until, you know, one of my colleagues, her name's, man, shout out to her. Her name's Brianna. She really helped me through school, and a lot of folks who was pursuing computer science during, you know, my last 3 years at San Diego State. So we had a study group, you know, we would share each other's information, take notes, you know, and then even if we had like past tests, you know, like we would share that, like, okay, this may be on the next test or may not be, you know, assignments. I mean, you name it, man. Like we got through it.
Yeah.
So without them, I don't know if I would have passed. I don't know if I would have passed. And then I also got involved in the student organizations as well with NSBE, and then I joined a fraternity, Beta Gamma Nu. And I also joined more of my culture, you know, African Student Union, you know, just to figure out, you know, exactly who I am as a person, you know, beyond just an engineer, beyond a student, you know, who am I culturally? And that really tapped into my power of like, you know, I got this, like, let me get through this school and keep it rolling.
Man, that's dope, man. You covered a lot of good stuff there. I hope everybody caught those gems you just dropped. I think that tribe component is like really critical, right? Because I think in high school it's kind of like, yo, everybody's kind of taught to act in silos, right? Like do your own work, don't be sharing, don't whatever. But in college you got to collaborate, man. And I think that's just more realistic of how life is in general. So I'm glad you were able to kind of find that tribe through NSBE and student union and stuff like that. I think that's critical for everybody's success, and it sounds like it played a big part in yours as well. Hey, quick question: you said you had like an hour and a half commute? Did you live like still in like LA area, like IE area?
Oh,
you know, where were you living like when you were going to San Diego State?
So my first couple of years, I was living like on campus, right? So
Gotcha.
I had the luxury of living on campus my first year as a freshman, just because it's like, you know, again, I didn't have a car, you know, so clearly I got to be on campus. Like there's no way. And then my second year, you know, I was still around living on campus. And then my third year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do the big boy stuff. You know, I'm going to get a studio. That's like, you know, I want to say at least 30 minutes away, right? Like from San Diego State. You know, at the time I was with my ex, so we lived in together and stuff. So I was like, man, you know, I can do this. You know, she can give me a ride or I can take public transportation. And then all that went away once we broke up, right? And I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to get to school? I mean, I was already getting to school just through public transportation. And again, you know, that at least takes about, you know, 40 minutes at least on a good day. You know what I mean? So, I mean, this is all before, you know, Ubers and stuff like that, y'all. So I didn't have the luxury to be like, tap my phone, let me get there, you know, pay $30 or whatever. So I had to take that public transportation every day. And then once I did that for a year, I was like, you know what, let me be real. Let me humble myself a little bit. Let me live right back on campus, right? So I lived pretty much the rest until I graduated back on campus. And that really helped me not commute anymore. But yeah, I was commuting a good year at least a good year. So
Gotcha.
It wasn't fun. It was not fun.
Gotcha. Hey, another thing you mentioned, I didn't even know y'all as CS majors, y'all had to take like calculus 2 and calculus 3, bro. I don't understand that too much. Like what they trying to do to y'all, but But what I want to ask you is though, man, like in my opinion, I think a lot of people's opinion, a lot of stuff, to be honest, a lot of classes that you have to take in college, a lot of times you don't even really see that stuff anymore when you get out in the industry. So, I mean, to me, to be honest, a lot of times it's just like a test of endurance to see if you can outlast or withstand like the class and then certain things that you're going through.
Right.
But at the same time, that's really challenging. And you kind of talked about that affecting your GPA. Can you talk about the point of like, I think a lot of times people misconstrue or have this misconception that, hey, if you have a GPA, high GPA or 4.0 GPA, you're just really, really smart. Or if you have a 2.0 or whatever, you're just dumb or lazy or whatever. Can you speak about like those misconceptions in terms of people correlating GPA to intelligence all the time and how you found that that's not always the case?
Yeah, that is clearly not always the case. I mean, man, I graduated from San Diego State below a 2.5 GPA, y'all, right? I had a 2.38 graduating, from a pretty well-established school, right? So I already knew, like, okay, even when I first started off at San Diego State, I was like, okay, I know GPA is everything. That's where you get looked at. You have more opportunities, right, because you're above 3.0 GPA. A lot of them now are like a 3.5 GPA, right? Like they want to see like how committed you are with the work, right, as far as whatever subject it may be and all that good stuff. And, to me, I don't think that's important because at the end of the day, what you're gonna do, on the job is gonna be completely different than what you do at school. 9 times out of 10. Yeah. Calculus 2 is nice to have, but are you always gonna apply to it? No, because there's already calculations out there that can do the work for you, right? And I don't believe in like GPA really reflects your intelligence. To me, it just reflects like, hey, to me, to be honest, it reflects that you was able to get the job done, without any distractions, right? Without any distractions. And for me, in my case, my distractions were, I got involved, with student organizations. I was working full time per se, right? A lot. And I was trying to, balance that with school. And it's like, how am I going to get through school if I have all these other priorities that I committed to myself, especially having to work? I didn't have that luxury to just go to school and just do school, like nothing else. And if you are one of those people, I would challenge you to get outside of that mindset, because then it's like anybody can do that. You know what I mean? Like, and what's really going to make you different? And that's what they look for. What are you going to do differently? You can have a 4.0 GPA, 4.5 GPA. And I would take somebody that has more experience, just through life than just through school. You know what I mean? Because that's what's going to be the challenge when you're out here, at the job or trying to get hired and stuff. They want to know, how do you, handle conflict? How do you handle adversity? How do you communicate? How you can communicate to somebody when it's somebody that's 10, 20 plus years senior level in a technical aspect. How are you going to communicate to them that something or that you need help with something, right? Like it takes a skill set, it really does. And so, if anybody is going through that phase of going through a bad GPA, man, it is just a letter. It really is just a letter. But, and a way to combat that is, how are you passionate about what it is that you're trying to pursue? If you are, pursuing a STEM major, are you volunteering your time in an organization? Are you having an internship, which all internship is just an awareness to see if you like the job or not, and what are you doing differently? Are you taking, some online classes that are, not required by the school for you to take, like what's making you different? So, GPA, I don't think, it really equates to intelligence at all to me because, shoot, I mean, there's a lot of people, I feel like there's a lot of even entrepreneurs that didn't have the best GPA coming out of high school or college, and they still were able to make millions and billions of dollars. So,
gotcha.
That's how I look at it.
Nah, man, that's some great advice. I mean, I think a lot of times, like, I think it's a mix. Some people, like, they are really, really smart, brainiacs, little Einsteins that get to 4.0. But I think some people just master the system of school. And, like, also, like you said, a lot of times they don't have the distractions. So, I'm glad that you kind of said like, hey, be more well-rounded. I'm kind of like summarizing. You
Yep.
talked about like the experiences and being a part of different organizations and things like that. I
Mhm.
think all those things are like, to be honest, more important. Because I mean, I remember I used to have I'd have like a 3.5 GPA. I'll go to a career fair trying to get an internship, and they're like, bro, you have no experience. I'm like, what? Like, help me out, please. But I'm
Right.
like, yo, I got this good GPA, but they're like, no, we want somebody that has like experience for this entry level job or whatever the case
Hmm.
may be. So, no, I'm glad you pointed that out. Yo, if you could like summarize, it sounds like you had like a lot of different experiences, a lot of different challenges through college. If you could give like a few pieces of advice for somebody to be successful in college, what advice would you give someone?
Man, I would say there's a couple of advice. I would say know who you are. And what I mean by that is like, like knowing your worth. You know, um, I think it was definitely a time, during college, I didn't know my own worth. I was like, man, I feel smart, I feel gifted, but who am I as a person? What am I going to be able to accomplish? And the sooner you find that answer, the better, because then all of a sudden you have confidence to do whatever it is that you want to do. Sometimes people are going to tell you like, hey, you should pursue this and pursue that. I remember even, for me, like I always wanted to be a video game designer and all that good stuff. And a person that I truly admired at the time, he's like, if you pursue that, you won't never grow up. And that hurt me because I was like, man, like this is my passion. This is what I want to do, right? And
Calling you a dream childish, man.
man, you know what I mean? And I dropped it, but now you got people out here making millions of dollars playing video games. Just people watching you play video games.
Yeah.
So it's like who are you to say what's going to happen to you in the future? There's no way. You can't predict the future. But what you can predict is what you can be yourself, right? And what that is, what is it? Who do you see yourself in the next, for the next lifetime? I think I would really advise people, that's going through college is we're gonna go through different phases in our life where we transform. I mean, think of it like I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, right? So like Goku, you know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
transformed into a Super Saiyan because an event made him snap and he went the distance, right? So there's gonna be certain events that happens to us that we're gonna snap. We're like, we gotta transcend, we gotta transform
Yeah.
above and beyond of who we are currently, right? And I had multiple experiences during that transformation, but one of the things that really transformed me was reading a book called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And at that time, I was really trying to be. I just wanted to master time. I wanted to master time because I'm over here in a relationship, with my school, and then I got work, and all these other things. I just didn't know how to manage myself and my time. And that book, one of the habits that it talks about is, putting first things first, which is managing, 24 hours a day and breaking it down. And when you actually break down those 24 hours a day, like you really have a lot more time than you think. And then you start realizing like, okay, what is my time really being dedicated towards? Am I really wasting time or am I not wasting time? So that was a huge turning point for me. And then also in the book, it talks about, keeping the end or having in mind like the end. Oh man, the end. Oh man, like starting from the end backwards, right? So pretty much like,
Gotcha.
you're in a coffin and, everybody's seeing you. You're there at your own funeral. How are people going
Hmm.
to remember you by when you pass away? And when I thought about that, I was like, man, this is how I want people to remember me. I want people to remember me as somebody that was really there, that was consistent, that really cared for them. You know what I mean? Whether it was to look out for resources, whether it was to help them financially or just being there, you know, through whatever it is that they were being there. And, and the next thing you know, you start having values for yourself and you start having integrity, right? And you start building, characteristics of what you want to see yourself become, before you pass away. And I think that is so powerful. And if anybody can take that seriously, at any time, because it happens whenever it happens. Sometimes it may happen when you're 18 or when you're like 45. But everybody has to go through their own journey. But my journey was through, some of those transformations through that book and just knowing what I wanted. And then another thing that
Nice.
I want to say is, again, culturally, just culturally who you are. Because I was in a, in a what is a biracial relationship, or in a cultural relationship, right, outside of my race, and
Yeah.
I didn't know culturally of who I was as a person, and I literally had to go back to the books, and one of them was Before the Mayflower. As an African American, all the trial and tribulations that we've been through, coming to America, and then also reading a book called The People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. Just knowing my history, knowing just other people's history too. Just being that perspective of like, hey, don't feel like you're a victim, just that whole victim mentality. Woe is me. I can't accomplish anything. Yes, you can. You have the power to do whatever you want, and part of that is by being proactive. Part of that is by not waiting for somebody to hand out whatever that you want to do. It is what you want to seek. And if anything, want to know a golden nugget with a lot of people that became successful and that didn't become successful, is because they took action. And that is really it. By taking action, not being in a world, like Ready Player One in a virtual reality, like, hey, this isn't real. Like, no, this is real life. You know what I mean? Like, you really can do whatever you want. Yeah, there's going to be things along the way that's going to stop you to achieving that you want to achieve. But at the end of the day, it can be done by you just taking the action. So that's why you got to go from zero to necessary.
Yo, man, you got a little public speaking gift to you, man. I can kind of feel that. You seem like you're really good. You'd be like awesome in front of a crowd, man. And you got me hooked once you dropped that Goku analogy, bro. I was like, oh boy, this boy dropping anime bombs on me. And I just put my mom had bought me something for my birthday like last year or the year before.
Yeah.
It was like a little Goku thing, but I had just put it up in the closet. All right, man, I'm getting off topic. My bad. But all right, so you went through this really challenging experience, like working full time, breaking up with your ex-girlfriend. You found out about NSBE. We're going to talk about your first job in a minute. But first, I just want you to tell me, like, what did it feel like when you finally graduated? You said it took 6 years. What did it feel like when you finally was like, yo, mom, I'm done. I'm walking across the stage. Like, take me through that experience real quick.
Oh man, it was the best experience of my life, man. Like that is definitely one of my top 5 moments ever. Because when I walked across that stage, man, thousands of people. Think about it, y'all. This is pre-COVID, right? So thousands of people in the audience looking at you, cheering you on. You're on the big screen and stuff. I mean, I was doing the what was that? You the jerk, right? I was all dancing and stuff. Like I was celebrating, man, and I was just so happy, man, because I was like, man, I finally did it, right? I finally got through this degree, this piece of paper that I got,
Yeah.
And it was definitely the best feeling of the world, man. Like I wouldn't regret it, man, because it just taught me just a lot. Like at the end of the day, like you can finish, man. You can finish. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that to me was just a victory point for me. I was like, wow, I was able to finish. I was able to complete. It didn't matter how I started, it's how I finished, and I finished on top. I felt like at the moment,
Gotcha. Okay. So to me, it sounds like when you were in college, you really went through a good transformation of like figuring out who you were, what your interests are. And like, that's really the beauty of college. You get out on your own, you explore, you gain skills, technical skills, hopefully some experience and internships as well. But a big part of it is like just learning about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's been like a bigger like boom and promotion for like alternatives pathways to like community college, coding boot camps, things of that nature. And so these are really focusing on, hey, giving you those technical skills, but you don't have like all the other experiences that you have in college. What would you say if you had to like give your thoughts on like traditional 4-year university versus like coding boot camps, and like why would you pick one over the other if you had to?
Yeah, I would say I would definitely I would still advise people to experience college at least once in their life, because it's just so much fun, man. Because you get to meet, you just don't know who you're gonna meet and who you know what I mean. Like it's just I don't know, man. It's just I think college it can be for everybody as far as the networking side, right? Like you can meet people there physically. You just never know where they may end up, right? I think that's the beauty of going to college. And then as far as with like actually learning like the technical skills, I don't think it's necessary to go to college. I really believe that you can just do a boot camp, for like a good, 6 months, right? And
Yeah.
then in those 6 months, you're building your skill sets, you're learning the foundation, the fundamentals of, the technical aspect of what you're trying to pursue. And I think that is more important because at the end of the day, right, just think about it, right? The first 2 years, they want you to take all these general classes that don't even matter. And then the last 2 years, they want you to take specifically what matters. So it's like,
Yeah.
so I literally just wasted, a good 2 years out of the 4 just trying to just do whatever because it's required for the curriculum for my year to, at the school.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I mean, it's a good and a bad thing. Yeah, you get to try out different things. But I don't, I'm not going to be excited to go to History 101, turn in 10 plus papers, you know what I mean? And it's like in history, it's like, well, yeah, history is good to know, but what is that really going to account for with computer science? But then what I did notice is a skill set is documentation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't realize that is a really good thing to document. I mean, even taking notes, like note taking. I remember in middle school, there was Avid class or course, Avid club, they would teach, this side, put these notes down. Like I kind of regret not taking that serious because it's like being a really great note taker, it helps you remember what you just learned and what you can go back to at any time and point, And so note taking was good, but yeah, I know I'm going off track, but yeah, boot camp I would say is definitely a way to go. I wish I'd done a boot camp, before I went to college. I would have definitely had more confidence, at least in the programming language that I'm about to learn, because there's so many out there with Java, Python, C++, C#. I mean, there's at least a dozen out there, and each is geared towards whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. But I would say, definitely a boot camp is good. Even completing their certifications, I think is good because at some of these colleges, even online, you know what I mean? Like you can go to, Coursera.org and take these certifications. And, these are schools that are like, Ivy League schools from, Harvard and Stanford and all that stuff that are teaching you like some high level stuff. So of course they're credited, so then when you put that on your resume, like, hey, I completed this is a project that I did. And by putting that project down, that is experience, and, I would say, that is the way to go. If we're unable to afford college, I would say just do these little projects, sign up online with, even with these free certifications, or if they're not free, one of them is like Udemy.com. They have some good courses on it. That's like $10. I know Black Friday is about to come up, Cyber Monday, or honestly, anytime throughout the whole year, they have a deal, right? You pay $10 and it's for a lifetime. And, so, and it's really current too, of what you're learning. So yeah, I would say it is not a shame to do those kind of things. And if you have the funds for it, definitely do it. And at the end of the day, you're learning your craft.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to I'm glad you're like the perfect person to ask that to. We interviewed somebody with coding bootcamp experience, so she kind of gave her perspective on that, and she went to college as well. So, but it was for like psychology or something. But I wanted to also ask you, as somebody who went to school for software engineering, and who works in industry, like what your thoughts were on that. So thanks for giving that. And man, I feel you, bro. Like I remember looking at the degree plan and having to pay like for 30 credit hours. And it's like, bro, you got to take art history, music history. I'm like, bro, I'm not going to use none of this. I just need like, you do need like communication skills, writing skills, documentation, like those things. But we had to take like drugs and society. And I'm like, bro, like, when am I going to use this? So I feel you there. And like, I feel people that have that pain of like, hey, I don't want to pay all this money for college and then like not use half of what, or 3/4 of what I'm taking. But cool. Right. So real quick, I want to jump into like how you got your first job, or what was your first job out of college and how you got it. So can you kind of tell me that story?
Yeah, definitely. So, so right before I graduated from San Diego State, I actually got an internship, right? I got an internship, and, shout out to NSBE again, through Space and Warfare. man, I forget the rest of the terms, but it's out in Point Loma. It's in San Diego, right? And I remember this manager. He came into a NSBE meeting, because on campus there's NSBE meetings and they have special guests and people come in and stuff, professionals, non-professionals, you name it. So he came in. He was the manager for Spay War, and he was like, "Hey, I'm looking for computer science or computer engineers to be an intern at Spay War, right?" And I remember, my colleague, he was like, "Jay, go ahead and pursue that." I was like, "Man, I don't know, man. I don't have a 3.0, and blah, blah, blah." I was just making all kind of excuses. He was like, "Man, I don't even think he cares. He just wants somebody from NSBE to be a part of, this internship." So I was like, all right. So I applied for it. Then I also found out you have to have a secret clearance. I've heard about clearances and stuff, but I didn't know what that entailed. And they literally do a background check, like 10 years, where you live, where you worked at, criminal history, financial history, all that good stuff. And I was like, man, am I going to pass? And, I passed. So now I started on board, working for Spay War for about a year and a half. And so then my last year at San Diego State, again, remember you guys, I had below a 2.5 GPA at that time. I was like, man, how am I going to get through? So I doubled down on myself. I betted on myself. I was like, all right, I got to make sure I got to pass these interviews. If I even have an interview, right? The job is to get the interview. So I was able to get the interview at Northrop Grumman during one of the NSBE conventions. And the NSBE convention that year was in Indianapolis, Indiana. And NSBE, shout out to them again, man. Like they really helped me like develop myself professionally, have a resume, mock interviews. I even took advantage of, doing mock interviews at San Diego State because, the career centers and stuff, because they are the ones that have the ends with the companies, you know what I mean? Because the companies are trying to hire y'all, you know what I mean? Or us. And so I would take mock interviews, I would kind of discover, what entry level I can see myself in. And so, so fast forwarding to NSBE at the conference, at the convention, I had an interview with Northrop Grumman, passed that, flying colors. 2 months later, which was May of 2013, they had a phone interview with me. I passed that. And then 2 weeks after that, which was literally 2 weeks after I graduated from San Diego State, I had an in-person interview with like 4 or 5 managers in the room. And they honestly didn't even ask about my, my tech background. You know what I mean? They were just more like, hey, how are you going to solve this situation if you're trying to turn in an assignment the next day? Like they were asking me behavioral questions. And, I thought I was pretty easily able to answer those because at that time I was already in leadership. I was a president for NSBE at San Diego State. I was president for my fraternity. I was a treasurer for the African Student Union. So I had all these different positions because I knew for myself, like I wanted to be a leader. I don't know, something attracted me about leaders. I was like, man, like I want to be a leader. Like what does that take to be a leader? And it wasn't until I started joining these different organizations and had an opportunity to be a leader, I was able to lead. And another book that kind of helped me out with that is How to Make Friends and Influence People, because I was very introverted. I only trusted the people who was in my circle. But I was like, Jay, if you want to be able to grow and lead, you got to have some type of influence. You got to have trust, and you got to make friends. And I was able to do that through a lot of those concepts in the books. But anyways, going back to Northrop, so with Northrop, they were able to get me on, but I didn't even know because at the time they were like, hey, we'll contact you if, we want to pursue you. I mean, you guys, that was a long summer for me in 2013. I had no job offers. I had, it was between Northrop and another company, and the other company didn't accept me for whatever reason. They were like, nope, sorry. I was like, man. And then I was like, man, now I got to go back to Riverside. I'm going to be living with my mom. Nothing against that, right? But I didn't want to do that because I was like, man, I would love San Diego. I love these beaches. I love the tacos. You know what I mean? I love the party scene. You know what I mean? These raves, all this stuff is great. You know what I mean? Like, this is my life. And it wasn't until one day, matter of fact, after I was coming from a music festival of that, you know what I mean? Literally the next day after coming from a music festival, I get a phone call from like a New York number. I was like, man, I don't know about New York, right? I was like, well, let me just take this phone call. And I pick up the phone, and this lady's like, hi, this is so-and-so from Northrop Grumman, right? She was like, I just wanted to see if you're still interested in this position. I was like, yeah,
What
you
you
know what I
mean?
mean? She didn't know like that was the only offer I had, but they were. And so I took the offer, and then I also found out it was a top secret clearance I needed to have. And I told them, I was like, hey, I don't have a TS, I have a secret clearance, They're like, well, don't worry, since you have a secret clearance, you'll be able to get, we're going to put you through, you get investigated to get the TS.
Gotcha.
And boy, man, that was a crazy topic. But yeah, they go through your background when you get that TS. So that's all I can say with that.
Nice.
But yeah,
No, I can only.
that's how I got the job done.
That's dope, man. That's awesome. That's amazing. Like seeing all your hard work like finally pay off. So I'm glad you got a chance to experience that. We're gonna have a professional development session real quick here in a minute. But first, I just want to, since you talked about NSBE so much, I just want to kind of ask you like about the importance of NSBE from a professional standpoint. So you have NSBE like the collegiate, right, where like they're helping you with mock interviews, networking, preparing you, and they have like the convention to help you get a job. But then can you also speak about like the professional side? Because you're the president of like the professional chapter, right? Or the San Diego chapter. Is that correct?
Yep. For the San Diego, yeah, I'm the president and the chair. So from a professional perspective, it's more about growing the professional, right? It's like now that you got this gig, you know what I mean? How are you going to be able to grow, in your career? Or, if you're seeking other opportunities, how do you even, go about it? How do you navigate? Right. So a lot of the things of what that we do is, we have a lot of job opportunities through a lot of our partners, that have these positions open for STEM, a lot of mechanical engineering, science, computer science, or software development, electrical. I mean, you name it. They're looking for people like us, to fill these positions. And, then again, just growing ourselves professionally, right? Like what certifications you need to have. I know a big one for like engineering is like PE, principal engineers,
Professional engineer.
just to be able to have that, to have that certification to design, a house, a building, or, a school, a park. I mean, you name it, you know what I mean? You got to have certain skill sets, and you got to pass certain tests to be certified, right? Even with cybersecurity, you got to have a security plus, right, certification, which is lasted for like 3 years. You have to take a test and stuff. And it has a lot of concepts about, securing systems, knowing different malicious viruses and all that good stuff, that may affect, cyber. And so the professional side is really about that. And then also the biggest thing, which I'm a key component on, is giving back, and so we have a mentorship program of, the colleagues at different chapters in San Diego, right? And then the professionals or the mentors, and then the mentees are the collegiate students. And, just share information and just, share experiences and stuff, and also opportunities of how to get involved in the field that maybe you want to pursue. So, I'm just really, really big on that. Like, you got to give back. You have to show them like, hey, I'm here to care. I'm here for you, and I'm here to, make sure that you succeed. So
Gotcha.
That's the little difference with the professional side.
Dope. Hey, so I got one last question before we get into like professional development, salary, all that good stuff. So I know you have like top secret security, right? They probably going through bank accounts. They might even have your phone tapped or something. I don't know. But is there anything that you could share with us in terms of like cool projects that you got a chance to work on? Anything that's like available to the public that people would know, or anything that you could share?
Yeah, I would say one of the ones that I can share is I had an opportunity to work on the B2, right? So as a software engineer, I did that a couple of years ago. And, I think that was really cool because it's like, wow, like this stuff is like out there flying,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I mean, and if anybody that doesn't know about like airplanes, like the B2 is one of the first like aircrafts that launched in, back in the 80s. It was a really big like aircraft, and that was like, thousands and thousands of feet in the air that was able to drop bombs and do all that crazy stuff, right? So it's a really known program, and knowing that I got a chance to work on that was really cool, because it's like, man, like this is real, this is out there, and these are things that are, making it happen. And so that was one of the cool projects that I worked on. The rest of it, I can't even talk about. You tapped in on me right now.
All right, I got you. Cool. No worries, no worries.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's talk about like professional development. I've been hinting at this for a minute. So when you got that phone call, are you willing to share like how much money as a software engineer like Northrop or like I guess a government contractor, how much money would they typically offer like a recent grad with a computer science background?
Yeah, I mean, it just really depends on where you are and where you're at. Because and the reason why I say that is because I got the job back in 2013, right? I mean, right now it's 2021, right? So salary and inflation is going to play a huge role in how much we get paid, even in the future. So what I would do, I would literally look at, okay, how much should I get paid? Entry level software engineer, and a lot of it, the range was between 70,000 through like 120,000. So first is like a range of how much you should get paid, right? Whether it's 5 figures or 6 figures. And then it's like, okay, what company is going to pay you that much, right? Because we all know if you work for Google, you should at least get paid $160,000 over in San Francisco, at least to accommodate, where you're living at and all that other stuff. But if you're over in Montana, I don't think you need $160,000 just to go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of that plays into how much you should be getting paid. And I would give kudos to Glassdoor because a lot of that information is out there and it is known of just the kind of range of what you should get paid. It just depends on where you are. But easily, in the software engineering at that, because again, it is in demand. It will always be in demand, y'all. I don't care if we're going to get robots, walking down the street telling us, hey, you got mail. Don't matter. Like you're going to have to need somebody to program that robot. You're going to need somebody to actually sit behind a computer, program a lot of things. Even with this software that we're using right now, that was by a software engineer. And then you have to think about who designed, that software, which a lot of things that they don't teach about in college is design, which is it's called UML diagrams. And that talks about how each function of what you're about to produce is talking to each other, right? And but it has to start with a design. You can't just go in there and just start coding. Like it's not efficient. You have to design it out first.
Gotcha.
Just like how you were to plan your goals, right? It's like you have to think about what it is that you want to do, and then within those goals, you have different tasks and assignments of how you're going to fulfill those goals. It's the same thing with designing with software development.
Gotcha.
But yeah, going back to the pay, that's how much you get paid. But
so would you say it's like comfortably, whether it's entry level or more experience, it's like comfortably a 6-figure job throughout your career?
Oh yeah, easily. Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Real quick, have you ever had any experience with like salary negotiations? Like, did you either like try to negotiate your salary like coming in, or even like any promotions or raises you got?
Yeah, I definitely negotiated. Well, when I first came in, I didn't negotiate at all. I was like, "Yeah, thank you." I was just happy just to get. I could have easily rebutted, but I didn't want to take that chance because I was like, "Man, like first off, then all of a sudden I gotta, figure out." It just would have been a delay. So I didn't even negotiate. But the second time, when it came to like my pay raise and stuff like that, I did negotiate. I was again, what helped was going back to seeing how much should I be getting paid with my experience, with my background, and then another thing, what happens is depending on the company, they have different levels. Like right now I'm a level 2,
yeah.
Right? So, I mean, Northrop goes all the way up to a level 6, and level 6, I mean, you get, $250,000 worth of salary. You know what I mean? Like you get a lot of money, but then, with that being said, they still want to see what kind of experience you've had. Are you a thought leader? How have you, solved this situation or this problem, dealing with the software? So you can either be a manager or a tech lead. So there's 2 different paths, right? So you get paid more by being a tech expert, or you get paid by being a manager. And then when you become a manager, it's like, okay, what level do you want to be a manager? You can be, a sectional manager. You can be a manager of the whole company, or you can be a manager of the whole division. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Gotcha.
wow, like there's different levels. And then within those levels, that determines how you get paid. But then you're also competing against, you know, thousands of other people that works in the company of getting paid just as much as you or as less. So it is a huge competition when it comes to negotiating, you know, money. But the companies definitely have the money, especially if you know, they're trying to keep you. You know, it's like, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about going over here. And, you know, that's another way to negotiate. Like, hey, I'm getting offered this. You know, what do you guys have for me? They can be like, yes or no. We can rebuttal and pay you more, or like, you know, go for it. You know, thank you for the opportunity for us to interview you. So at the end of the day, they need you more than you need them. They really do. They need you. They need us. They need us badly.
Gotcha. A quick question. You said you for the second go around, you kind of negotiated based on like data points and experience. Like, what did you use to kind of determine like what pay range you should have? Were you using like Glassdoor, or did you talk to like colleagues that are already in those certain positions and roles to be like, oh, they get paid 140. I need to ask for like 135 at least based on my experience, or like how did you kind of determine that data point?
Yeah, I definitely one of my mentors, she definitely helped me like figure out as far as like how much, you know, these positions get paid, and then, you know, like the maximum amount too, right? So I had a couple mentors too who really helped me out in that regard.
Okay.
So that was one. Yeah, Glassdoor helped me out. I think salary.com, I think that even explains it a little bit of, you know, how much you should get paid depending on what level you are and what position you are too. Yeah, that really helped me with my negotiation. And then I'm just trying to think what else helped me out. But yeah, definitely knowing, because yeah, a lot of people don't want to talk about how much they get paid, well, especially when you're with the
taboo,
company.
man.
Yeah, so, you know, so you really have to, you know, whoever your mentor is, you know, they'll give you the lowdown, or, you know, sometimes your manager, you know, if they're really looking out for you, they'll tell you right then and there, like, hey, this is how much, you know, the maximum amount you can get paid for in this position. You know, I think right now is, you know, depending on the companies, they're a little more open about it than, you know, just for, you know, equality and reasons and stuff. But yeah, it's all out there though. It's there.
You don't have to give your specific salary, but maybe if you could talk about like the lifestyle that comes along with being a STEM professional, right? Like you talked about living in San Diego, like you love like music festivals and tacos and all that good stuff, right? So if you can kind of like talk about like, hey, what are some of the different opportunities that have been provided to you by being a software engineer or a software integration engineer?
Man, yeah, I mean, it's a good and a bad, because it's like, okay, even when I first got my gig, man, yeah, I was doing all kind of things, man. I was going to Coachella, you know, like multiple. I made out a tradition to go to Coachella every year. I was like, I don't care what's happening, like I'm going to Coachella, man. I mean, Coachella is the best. I mean, I've been to many music festivals like EDC and Hard Summer and all that stuff. And so yeah, just the fun aspects of going to concerts. You know, I got to check out Lupe Fiasco. He was one of my favorite rappers at the time. I mean, he still is one of my top 10. But, you know, being able to do that, and, you know, also get a car, right? Remember, y'all, I didn't have a car until I got my first job. Like, literally, think about not having a car for almost a decade. Like, having a car, that was one of the best feelings in the world. You know, my little Chevy Malibu, you know, 2012. But then the other side of it was, you know, I was able to invest, right? I was able to invest, which I mean by investing, I was able to get a property. You know what I mean? Home ownership is huge. Also in stocks, because I didn't really know about the stock market. And I just didn't know anything about investing. You know what I mean? I was like, what does that really mean? And my mentor, he would always say, you know, Jay, you got to invest your money. You gotta make your money grow. You can't just be spending it all day and, you know, expect a return. So I was like, okay, how do I make it grow? So I would literally invest in the stock market, and, you know, just anything, you know, just to kind of just even learning what that meant, right? Like, how do you even do that? Like the stock market, I know a lot of people are like, is it really hard? It's really not. And I would definitely, you know, give a shout out to like people like Earn Your Leisure, like them kind of cats. And even you know, just, you know, man, what's his name, man? I know that the trap dude, man, Wall Street Trapper, that guy. Yeah, you know, I mean, that's like free game, y'all, that, you know, get interviewing people and how to get into the market and stuff. And one of the things that I would also do is watch CNBC. For those that are not in the East Coast, right, like myself, I would literally have to wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning just to figure out what's going on before the stock market opened. And from 5 a.m. to like 7 a.m., I would literally be watching CNBC on, audio or, TV or something like that. I would just go ahead and be like, all right, that's what's going on with the businesses. Because you think about it, CNBC is the world, talking about business of the world. So it talks about everything that's going on in business. It doesn't matter what part in the world that you're in. And I think that is very important when you want to learn about businesses and how, people invest their money. I think that is really key. Just like Shark Tank, right? Like, how do these multimillionaires, billionaires invest their money? What do they really look for? What are trends? What are industries? And stuff of that nature. So yeah, that was definitely the beauty of being, in a pretty, nice salary coming in, is like, okay, now I have the chance to invest. I have a chance to get myself out of debt. I have a chance to also, talk to people, even, help out my family, when it comes to bills, even my mom, you know what I mean? Like, I'm able to do those kind of things. And, but the lifestyle is great, but it can come at a cost if you don't spend it wisely.
Quick. So, what advice could you give to like a young Black or Latino boy or girl that's curious about STEM, but they're not sure that they can do it or not confident that they could do it? What advice could you give them?
Just don't doubt yourself, man. Like, just don't doubt yourself. Like, you can do this. We can do this. I mean, yeah, the subject may seem difficult, but that's why you have people there to help you along the way. I would definitely advise, whether it's in college or if not in college, look at meetup groups. You know what I mean? Like, just familiar ourselves around the people that are actually doing it. And then just to get from their perspective, what do they see it as, and how do they get to where they are, and even, have a mentor, like have somebody or have a friend, who can really help guide you to see if that's something that you want to do. Look up podcasts, look up YouTube videos, all those kind of things to kind of familiar ourselves with what it is that we're trying to pursue, and to see if that's something that we do, that is something that we want to do. So I would definitely advise that. And even going back to learning some of those things online that's free, take a free how to program in Java or Python and just see how it goes.
Yeah.
And if you like it, cool. If not, try a different programming language or anything else. So that would be my biggest advice is, just take advantage of the resources that are around you.
All right. So it's been a great discussion so far. I just want a one-word answer. What is your top programming language you would recommend for people to start learning today if they're like hoping to get a software engineering job in the future?
Python.
Okay.
Straight
gotcha.
up.
All right. That's what I thought it would be. Because, I mean, it seems like it's so popular. And then, I mean, it's free. You can pretty much start from anywhere. But I just had to ask you that question here, what your thoughts were. All right, cool. One last closing question before I let you go. So this last question, we kind of call it like our infinity gauntlet question. And so the whole purpose of this question is trying to develop like a solution for getting more people, more Black and Latino people involved in STEM. So if you imagine, hey, if you had your own infinity gauntlet and had to snap your fingers, you could change one thing, whether it's like a policy, a government policy, whether it's like something with humans themselves, whatever. If you could snap your fingers and change one thing, what would you change in order to get more Black and Latinos interested in STEM?
Oh, man, I would change their mindset.
Okay.
I would change them.
Why you say that?
Because at the end of the day, it starts with the mind. If you don't think that you can do it, you're not going to do it. So if I can be like, hey, if I at the snap of the finger, I'm like, you know what? You are a creator. You are an engineer. You can do whatever you want. You are talented. At that moment, you're gonna give yourself that confidence, and you're just gonna know, like, hey, I can do this. I will do this. And I think that part is what will help transition a lot of people into the field. Is that mindset, and and then knowing that the abundance of it too. It's like, wow, there's so many different ways I can get involved in STEM. There's no one cut cookie. You know what I mean? Like, just like, hey, you have to be, you have to know how to program. No, you don't. You can get into Google without knowing how to program. I've seen it. you can get into Northrop without knowing how to program. I've seen it many times. Like, it's just like, man, like what really comes down to it? Is it the technical aspect? Is it tech? Is everything tech? It is important to know what you know, but that's not everything. I think as long as you know how to talk to people that are in the tech, I think that's more valuable than just knowing how to, do the tech itself. But yeah, I would change the mindset of every Black and Latino, Latinx person out there. Like, yo, we can do this, man. This is how we're going to do it. Boom. Next thing you know,
Gotcha.
the numbers increase.
Yo, that's dope, man. That's dope. Yeah, man. It's been like that mindset, that answer is starting to become a popular answer on this show. The first one is still like free education, but I think even with free education, I think, if some of us don't have the mindset, it's not going to matter. Nope. So, that's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. You're the second one. We just had a guest named Leo. He said the same thing. So I'm glad that you gave that answer. Nice. All right. Man, Jay, bro, it's been so good. I feel like I know you. Like, I feel like we go back. This was a dope conversation, man. I appreciate you taking time out to learn about, to come on the platform and just share your opinion and your thoughts, and then also talk about Zero to Necessary. Do you have any closing thoughts? And also be sure to like plug Zero to Necessary one more time. Like, how can people find you and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can definitely find, the company Zero to Necessary, ZERO2TO necessary.com. You can also look me up. I'm the only Jayton Harps in the world. I kid you not, y'all. Like, you can look up my name. I will be the only one that come up. I swear. There's a lot of Jayton. There's a lot of Harps, but there's only one Jayton Harps. So yeah, check me out. I'm all over all the social medias, even on TikTok, but I don't want to give up my TikTok. So my TikTok is a little bizarre, but you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, which are actually called Meta now. It's not even called Facebook anymore. You can catch me on Meta.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I might be in the metaverse. I don't know. We'll see. Only time will tell. And on Instagram and so forth. But yeah, just closing thoughts, man. I mean, I just want to say thank you again for allowing me to, just to share my story. I think it's very important for us to continue to share our stories. You just never know who it might touch, whatever somebody's going through. And, at the end of the day, we need to go through adversity. We need to be able to go through something in order to share, like, hey, we're not out here alone. We can all, get things done. And, I don't know. I'm just really humbled and just want to say thank you, man. So that's all really I had to say. Closing thoughts, but definitely, I cannot stress enough. Like, once you get that money, man, invest. You got to invest, whether it's yourself, whether it's in a company, whether it's in, real estate. I mean, I'm really serious about that. Like, a lot of people that invested, 5 years ago are paying dividends, just through cryptocurrency. I mean, there was a lot of things that I was even thinking about investing back then, but I was like, I don't know. I mean, now it's the hot topic, and it is going to continue to be the hot topic for the next decade or so. So, whatever ideas that are out there, just pursue it. Just go for it. Just do it. Just do it, man. Like Nike said, like literally just do it. And, you'll get more out of life by doing than just by being the bystander. So I'm all about doing, man. That's about it.
That's awesome. Awesome, man. Yeah, real quick, I know a lot of us, we might come from backgrounds where we're not familiar with having a lot of money or having money in general. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it can be kind of fearful to be like, oh, I'm going to invest my money in the stock market or real estate. But scary money don't make money. And you gotta put your money to work for you if you're trying to live the type of lifestyle that you should live. Right. And I really believe that. So thanks for sharing that advice, Jay. Man, it's been a pleasure, bro. This is why we made this platform, to highlight people like you, successful Black and Latino engineers, STEM professionals, software engineers, all that, and also people that are trying to give back and do better for the community. So I love what Zero to Necessary is doing, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Anytime you want to come back, you always got an opportunity and a door open. So feel free to use this resource. But cool, man. Thank you all for checking out another episode of Custom Journeys. This has been a pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll catch you all next week. See you.
Peace.